Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial today. In today's video, we're going to learn how to make this beautiful Queen Anne neckline design with this sort of structured sleeve that has an opening. Okay, so if that is what you want to learn how to make from start to finish for yourself, then keep watching this video till the very end as I give detailed explanations on how I came about this design. So firstly, you'll be needing your basic bodice front in full, okay, not sort of half, not like half of it. You need it in full because of the type of design we want to recreate. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to make my center line visible enough because you'll be needing it as we go on. So this is my center line. Now this is my chest line, my bust point line, my underbust line, and of course my half length. So you have to make sure these points are in your basic bodice. Now the next thing I am going to do is from this part of my armhole, I am going to be marking 2 inches. Now this is optional. You can decide on whatever you want to use for your shoulder length, okay? And then on this part also, I went ahead to mark 2 inches. Please, you want to pay keen attention so you grab the basics and how to do these things so you can play around with yours and it will still come out better. Now from this part of the armhole or from this part of my dress, I didn't actually take any measurements. I marked 3 inches. The fact is that I wanted to have that curvy effect. Okay, so since I used 2 inches for the shoulders, I'm coming inwards now by 3 inches. Okay, so I can have that curvy effect. Now for the depth of the neckline of this part, I used 4.5 inches. For the depth of the neckline of this part, I used 4.5 inches. And then coming out from that 4.5 inches point, I went in by 1 inch. Okay, I came in by 1 inch. Now all those points, we are going to be joining them together to form that neckline of this part of this dress. So I connected to this point and I came back to the 1 inch, all right? From the shoulder to the 3 inches point and then back to the 1 inch. Can you see the shape it gave us? Now consider the center line. I told you we're going to need it later. Consider your center line. From your chest line, you want to go upwards on your center line, from the chest line upwards. At this point, I marked 2.5 inches. Like I said, if you understand the basics, you can use whatever you want to use for yourself. Just make sure you understand the basics, okay? So I marked 2.5 inches. And then moving on to this part of the neckline, remember we marked 2 inches already here. So I figured that that 2 inches is not going to give me what I want. I decided to make it 1.5 inches. Okay, so now the shoulders are not the same. I decided to make it 1.5 inches. Now coming inwards from this part, you know that here we used 4 inches. On this part, we used 4 inches or 4.5 inches. Now the depth of the neckline here is higher than the other side. So I brought it a bit upper. I used 3.5 inches, all right? And then coming inwards here, I went ahead to mark 2 inches. I'm connecting the 1.5 inches to that 2 inches point. I hope you get. So you remember the 3.5 or 2.5 inches for at the center. I went ahead to increase it a little more. Okay? I went ahead to increase it a little more. Since I don't want it to be on the same line with this part of the neckline, I went ahead to increase it a little more. Then we are going to be connecting all the points to that center point. At this point, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do want to subscribe. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be notified whenever I post lovely tutorials like this. Do want to give this video a thumbs up and share it to other sewing platforms where they'll be needed. Thank you very much. And if you're a returning subscriber, I really do appreciate you. So here I decided to go up a little bit. Okay, I felt like it was, or I decided to come down. I felt like it was too high. So I decided to come down a little bit, let's say half an inch. Like I said, if you understand the basics, you're going to walk around with this and create your own design. It will look fabulous. So this is what my neckline is looking like now. Now for this neckline not to gap, as you can see, we have a lot of deep cutting. If you don't want it to gap, we are going to apply a contour technique. And the contour that we need is our neckline contour dart. Obviously, that is the part we don't want to gap, the neckline. So we are going to apply the neckline contour dart. So from this part of my armhole, or from my, I squared the line from my neckline to that point and I marked in my bust arc. Bust arc is the distance between your bust point and your underbust. So on top of the bust arc that I marked, my dart is going to be sitting there. So there I'm going ahead to mark in my dart now of 1/2 inch. Your dart is 1/2 inch. You go into mark it in and look at the way I'm connecting it from the tip of the neckline, the basic neckline, to my bust point like so. That is how to connect your contour dart. I'll be doing the same thing to the other side, just in case you didn't understand what I did the other side. From this point of your neckline, you square a line all the way to your bust point. Okay, and then you mark in your bust arc measurement, which is the distance between your bust point to your underbust. You mark it in like so, as if you want to form a kind of an arc, okay, a semicircle and arc, so some sort of a circle. So you mark your dart on top of that arc, which is 1/2 inch, and then you connect it like so. So having connected that, these are our 2 contour darts that we need for this tutorial so that the neckline does not gap. Can you see what it looks like? Now the next contour you need is your underbust. Of course, this is a bustier and you cannot make a bustier without contouring your underbust. So to contour my underbust from the bust apart line, I'm going to be marking you will be marking 1 inch apart from each side. From your bust apart line, 1 inch apart on each side. Then you're going to be connecting like this. Your bust points to that 1 inch and back to your, to your waist dart. From the bust point to that 1 inch, back to the waist dart. Of course, you can go ahead and smoothen it, those sharp curved parts, but I'll still do that as we go on, all right? So I went ahead to do the same thing here now. Just in case you didn't get the previous one, from your bust apart measurement, you're going to be marking 1 inch on both sides. Okay, from your bust apart measurement, 1 inch on both sides. Then you connect with your ruler to the bust point, like so, and then back to your waist dart. So this is my contour dart for the underbust right now. So these are just the things you need. There is another thing we are going to be marking in. Of course, this is a bustier, and I am going to be using an armhole princess dart for my bustier method. I'm going to be using an armhole princess dart form. So for any part of your armhole, go ahead and draw in your style line from any part of your armhole. Okay, so I went ahead to measure how many inches I used here from the part of my armhole, and I figured it was 3.5 inches thereabout. So I decided to use the same 3.5 inches at this point, okay? So there's uniformity in design, though it's not necessary. So when I was trying to rule it in, I found out that it's going to be obstructing this very neckline, and we don't want to go through the stress of doing this. It's doable, but we don't want to go through the stress of doing that. So I decided not to use that point, and I came down from there to this point of my armhole to draw in my style line, like so. So you can use your princess dart from any point of your armhole. It's acceptable. And this is what it looks like. This is what the pattern now is going to look like. So the next thing we're going to do is to start working on our darts to, achieve what we want. I'm going to cut open my side bust dart right now. So I've cut open my side bust dart. The next dart I'm going to be cutting open and closing is my contour dart. But before I do that, I'm going to be cutting out this basic neckline so it's out of the way. So I haven't cut out the basic neckline. We'll go ahead to cut open the contour dart and then close it. Of course, we're going to close it. So that excess space, the dart, we don't need it. We'll close it to snatch your chest, your neckline, right? We transferred the dart to the side bust dart that we opened. Can you see it increased? The side bust dart increased. So after doing that, now you're going to be cutting on your style line for your armhole princess dart. And having done that, you will close the side bust dart so you can transfer that dart excess to that style line of the armhole princess dart. And I'll go ahead to use my sellotape and hold it down, close it up properly. And then the next thing is to cut the waist dart and the underbust dart up onto the bust point. You want to be very careful so you do not ruin any part of your pattern. Okay, you want to be very careful so you do not ruin any part of your pattern. So this is what it looks like. You remember the part I told you can curve out any edge? So I'm going to do my curving out now. All right, so I'm going to be smoothing this part so that it's not pointy. Okay, so it has that natural breast or bust effect. So I'm going to have curved it out, and with my scissors I'm going to be cutting out that part. So here we have this one now, and the same thing we are going to also be doing here. I'll go ahead to cut open my side bust dart. So I'll kind of be a little bit faster here because it's the same procedure, all right? Cut open the contour dart at the neckline, close it up. Then go ahead to cut the style line for the princess dart, close it up, transfer the dart to that style line. And then of course go ahead to cut the waist dart and the underbust dart out. Of course, smoothing out that pointy part, we do not need it. Give it a very nice smooth curve. So can you see what it looks like now? So we'll proceed to cutting out the neckline proper. You want to be very careful as possible. You want to be very careful while cutting this out so you do not rip any part of your pattern. So now as I approach, can you see that because of the dart I closed up, this part of the line broke, like it's no longer in alignment. So you can just go ahead and chew it back. It's nothing to worry about. You can just go ahead and chew it back. So this is what your front pattern should look like, okay? Now I went ahead to label right, so I don't get confused. Left, right, and also left. You have to do this because trust me, there are a lot of things going on here. You have to do this, you have to label so you don't get confused. I'll set it aside and we'll work on the back. Now these are the back pieces. Instead of having one, I have two. Remember my shoulders are not the same. I have a 2-inch shoulder and 1.5 inches shoulder, 2 inches and 1.5 inches shoulder. So I need to have two pieces of the back. Now we want to make the shoulder of the right for front and shoulder of the right for back to align. And shoulder of the left and back to also align. I hope that's not too much for you to take in. Okay, it's not too much, yeah, it's not. So I'll set the front aside now. So working on the shoulder at this point, I totally even forgot how many inches I used. So I had to bring back my front pattern. I measured it as 2 inches for the right. I went ahead to impute the 2 inches here for the back, also right for the back, right? For the left, I also measured it 1.5 inches, and I'm going to be imputing it also. You see the way I'm imputing it? From the part of the armhole, not from the part of the neckline, from the part of the armhole, please. So at this point now, you can decide on any neckline you want, right? At this point, you can decide on any neckline of choice. So for me, I'm going to be using a round neckline. So I'll just come down by 0.5 inches or 1 inch or 1.5 inches, whichever one. So I came down and I curved it in. I'm using a round neckline and I curved it in. So the neckline, they are supposed to align at the center, okay? They're supposed to align at the center. Even if they don't align at the center, that should be an advanced method. If you're a beginner, please make sure they align at the center. If they don't align at the center, that should be advanced and it's for pros. But if you're a beginner, please let it align at the center. It will still come out beautiful and nice. So I went ahead to join it together like so. And here, this is what it looks like. So for my armhole darts for the back, from any point of the armhole, okay, I'm using 3.5 inches. I went ahead to connect this like so for my armhole for the back. You can use a curved rule to make this easier for you. So for uniformity of design, I'm using the same thing for both sides of the back, since there's no neckline to obstruct. So here it is now. We'll go ahead to start cutting it out. So can you see what my back pieces look like? Let's head over to the sleeve, okay? We have the sleeve back front. So I have this part of my sleeve, the center. I'm going to be cutting on the center right now. So I have my upper round arm, round sleeve elbow, and of course my sleeve length. So on the center, I am going to be cutting now to separate the front from the back sleeve, like to separate them, okay? So now I've separated them. I set the front aside so we can work on the back. I'm getting the fresh pattern paper so you guys will see clearly what I am doing. And then I'll go ahead to use my cello tape and tape down the basic sleeve to this fresh pattern paper. So now from your very cap sleeve, you're going to be marking 4 inches upwards. If you want yours to be higher, you can go higher, but please do not go overboard. I think 4 to 5 inches is okay. Now, with your ruler, you're going to be reading a slant line. Can you see the line is slanty? It is not straight. It is slanty. On that slanty line, you're going to be measuring 4 inches or so. And so you want to make a curve. That line shouldn't be straight. It should be like a curve, like a C, right? Not an inverted C, just a C itself, a C, right? Up until that 4 inches point, you can see clearly what I am doing, right? Now moving upwards, on your upper round arm, if you want yours to extend, fine. But from what we are recreating, it is the upper round arm. You're going to be curving this now with another C. Is it an inverted C or a C? Just a curve from the upper round arm, right, to this point. Please ignore the first line I drew. It was a mistake. From the upper round arm, right, then you go ahead to cut it out. That's just it for the sleeve. Very simple. So now we're also going to be doing the same thing to the front. Here is my front sleeve. I'll place it on this fresh pattern paper like so. Then I'll go ahead to tape it down so it stays in place and not move around. So now you want to take the back and place it onto the front. The reason we are doing this is that extension, that yellow extension part, they should be the same. Front and back should be the same, okay? So you don't experience difficulties while joining them together. They just have to be the same, all right? So I've made sure they are the same, and then I went ahead to cut out my front sleeve. So at this point, this is what your sleeves should be looking like. Can you see my sleeve pattern? So let's head over to the cutting on the fabric. So remember your front is already on a whole piece. So there's no need, you're not cutting on fold, okay? Your front is on a whole piece. You're not cutting on fold, you just need one piece of it. And then you go ahead to cut. As you can see, my chalk is there to mark out the points where I need to mark notches on. Remember to add 1/2 inch allowance all the way around so you can turn on with your lining neatly. all the way around because you're going to be sewing up every part of it like so. So now to cut the sleeve, the center front is where I'm cutting now. Also remember to add 1/2 inch all the way around, and then for your side seam you can add 1 inch, this part now that looks bigger, so for your sewing allowance. So this is the sleeve, and now I'm going ahead to join these pieces together. Okay, can you see my pattern is still there, so I don't get confused. I attached a very soft paper stay. My pattern is still there, so I don't get confused. I've gone ahead to join it and also turned my lining, and this is what it looks like. These are my back pieces. I'll also go ahead to join them. Can you see my pattern is still there, so I don't get confused. So you go ahead now to join the front and the back together on the shoulder and of course on the sides. And after joining, this is what I have. Now for the sleeve, which is actually the very interesting part of this tutorial that I love so much, aside the Queen Anne neckline, I have my sleeve lining also. Can you see? Some part of the sleeve lining is the fabric. So what you're going to do now is you're going to be sewing this part together. You sew this part together. Do not touch this part. That's the armhole part. You're just going to be sewing this part together. Okay? This part is your armhole. Please do not touch it. So after sewing that part together, this is what it looks like. Okay? Then you leave this part open before you continue sewing up your center sleeve. Okay? That part that is the keyhole, you have to leave it open before you go ahead to sew up your center sleeve. Now you attach the armhole area to the armhole of your bodice. You attach the armhole area to the armhole of your bodice, of your dress, of the upper part of your bodice, of course. I'm going to head to join my sleeves together, and this is what it looks like. So I'll head on to join the lower part of my dress, okay, so I can have a complete gown. Can you see the part where you put your sleeve, your hand from your sleeve, okay? So this is what my top is looking like. My dress, the top part of my dress is looking like. And I'll go ahead and attach the lower part of it. And at the end, you guys, this is what the full dress is looking like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.